Following the 2020 election, there were, of course, plenty of Republicans led by Donald Trump who were claiming that there was widespread voter fraud that tipped the results of the election. And funny enough, we did find some instances of voter fraud here and there, but more often than not, it was Trump supporters voting twice for the Red Menace, and it was this ironic counter that we had to people who were claiming that it was the left who were double voting, voting on behalf of dead relatives, voting in two different states, etc. Well, now we have another instance of such election hypocrisy, but on a much, much bigger scale than an extra vote or two here or there. Some Republicans, as we know, have been talking about how Democrats broke into machines to get access to the vote counts, to change them, or whatever the case may be. Mike Lindell, of course, was the most prominent figure pushing this idea, talking about the votes being switched and the packet captures, and of course he tarnished the names of Dominion and Smartmatic. Well, get a load of this. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is investigating attempts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia and has obtained text messages and emails connecting members of Trump's legal team to the voting system breach in Coffee County, Georgia, back in January 2021. There are more than a dozen individuals who are expected to face charges as part of this investigation, including individuals linked to the Coffee County voting system breach. The investigation suggests that the breach was not a spontaneous effort by Trump supporters, but it was actually a coordinated push by Trump's team to access sensitive voting software. The claim is that Donald Trump's allies aimed to access voting systems after the 2020 election to support their baseless claims of widespread fraud, but it seems like they were actually the ones who were doing the interference and the fraud. So what we know for certain is that in 2020, Coffee County in Georgia, they experienced a security breach that exposed sensitive voter information, including things like names, addresses, and social security numbers. The breach was reported in October, and after an individual discovered and reported unauthorized access to the county's voter registration database via the election website. So this incident raised awareness about the potential vulnerabilities of election systems and emphasized a need for enhanced cybersecurity measures to safeguard voter information and maintain the integrity of our elections. And now we're learning that it looks like Trump, or at least his lackeys, were the ones responsible for this breach. The focus of Fani Willis's investigation has expanded to include evidence of Trump's attorneys, operatives, and their role in the breach, as well as connections to similar efforts in other states. The breach in Coffee County is a key aspect of the investigation, alongside Trump's call to, of course, Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in efforts to present fake slates of electors. That's where most of the focus on is, at least in this case, this idea that Trump called up Brad Raffensperger asking him to find the 11,780 votes. That's what's getting the most attention. But this breach could be maybe just as significant as everything else that we know about this case. A former Trump official testified that discussions about accessing voting systems in Georgia took place in White House meetings, including one involving Donald Trump himself. So we'll see if they're able to tie Trump specifically to this effort. But to be honest, you probably don't even need this case to be able to charge him with something in Georgia. Text messages indicate that Trump's lawyers had hired operatives and sought to access Coffee County's voting systems during Trump's lame duck period. An elections official allegedly facilitated the breach and sent a written invitation to Trump attorneys ahead of the breach. Rudy Giuliani, none other than Rudy Giuliani, and fellow Trump lawyer Sidney Powell have also been examined as part of this probe. It would not surprise me at all if they were the ones directing this. The investigation also reveals attempts to use the breach and related evidence to support efforts to decertify election results, while Giuliani denies involvement. Text messages link him to the situation, and we know that Giuliani's word cannot be believed on anything at this point. If he told me that he had oatmeal for breakfast, at this point, I don't think I could even believe that. The investigation includes surveillance video and documents obtained in a civil lawsuit focused on election security in Georgia. So it's quite possible that if and when these indictments come out from Georgia, maybe today, tomorrow, this week, or next week, whenever the case may be, we could be learning even more about what happened in that state in the aftermath of the 2020 election. What we already knew was damning enough and seemed to be plenty to put Donald Trump in prison, at least theoretically, but it could be a far worse situation, and it further exposes Republicans and Trump as being complete hypocrites on this. They claim as though they're the ones that care about voter fraud and election security when it seems as if they're the ones who are actually committing it. All right, we're going to go to another break. We'll be back with much more of the David Pakman Show right after this.